Okay, we're live on Hangouts anyway. Just waiting for good old YouTube to catch up. It always lags. Here we go. It's getting there. All right, we're live on YouTube as well. So welcome, live from the crossroads of America. Talk show about guns, politics, or anything else that crosses my mind. You got any questions, just put them in the chat boxes, and we will try to answer them. I'm broadcasting on gun channels and YouTube. I have a Patreon page, Spreadshirt thingy going on. Just type in Rick's Life or Spotted Rick and my stuff should come up. Also, the audio files for all my shows are on Podbean, iTunes, and Stitcher. This one will be up within 24 hours of the show ending. Okay, I think did I get everything? Yep, I think I got it all. And I want to say, let's see, John Brown Productions was first today. Then we got Rob D, New York Outcast, Ohio 45. That's on YouTube. On gun channels, we got David Bolin, Sean Ponnery, Dano, and Dead Horse. Now, I sent out links to everybody to come into the thing here. But everybody must be busy today. That's all I got to say on the matter. Because, hang on, I'm just trying to, there we go. I'm just, because right now, let me introduce my one and only panelist so far today. And that is Squib. How you doing, Squib?
Hey, thanks for the invite. Thanks for keeping me company while I'm at work on Saturday. Yeah, I know I don't work a lot of Saturdays, but lately things have been going on, and that's good. That's a good sign. It means the economy is good, and we want a good, strong economy. And manufacturing is the backbone of the American economy. So the rest of you owe me who aren't in manufacturing, because it's trickling down to your measly paychecks. So, but yeah, thanks for the invite, and glad to be here on a Saturday. Well, I'm not here at work, but on your show.
Yeah, no problem. I appreciate it. And if anybody's interested, I put the link. If you want to join the panel, I'll put the link up on gun channels.
Yeah, somebody better jump in here and save you, because I'm really a lousy panelist, so it's going to be real low quality today.
Oh yeah, it could be a very short show too.
Yep.
Yeah. So anyway, I'll wait to see if anybody else shows up to go on to the main topic. But the other one was I noticed on the Texas constitutional carry, they've done an emergency constitutional carry bill it's getting passed in the House, is where if the state declares a national emergency, if you're legally entitled to own a gun, you'll be able to carry it without a permit in Texas, only under a national emergency. That's the closest they're getting to it right now. That's the way I interpreted the article I read. I could be wrong, but I guess it's but they got open carry anyway right now. So
they have open carry with a permit, which is kind of an oxymoron.
That's what we have here too in Indiana.
Why would you need a permit to open? I would think you would need a permit to hide it, not to. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But I guess they figured if you've gone through all the qualifications or whatever you got to do to get a permit, then you must be an okay guy, you know.
Honestly, open carry, permitless open carry, really resolves the issue with hunting, especially if you're in a state where you can use a lot of different kinds of guns or calibers or whatnot to hunt with. If you've got permitless open carry, you can walk from your vehicle to where you're hunting. You can walk on state land. You can, it really resolves a lot of issues with that, because now there's no question. Even if you're not hunting, I like the fact that if you have the ability to open carry, that you can do that. And I know a lot of people disagree with open carry, but I am very pro open carry. People are like, Well, if they can see your gun, then you're going to be the first target. Well, maybe, maybe not. If they can see my gun, maybe they decide to go somewhere else.
I think FBI statistics support the fact that when they see a gun, they go somewhere else.
What was that, dead horse?
I was going to say, from everything I've read from actual FBI statistics, supports that when they see a gun, they go somewhere else.
So open carry into you is not a bad idea.
Well, the FBI has an actual statistic out that says 5,500 times per day, just the presence of a firearm without a shot being fired prevents a crime. So they can't, there's no such thing as a presence of a firearm if it's concealed, right? In order for there to be a presence of a firearm, someone actually has to see it. So FBI statistics, I think, really support that, just seeing a gun prevents a crime.
And see, I agree with that. Okay, so I think maybe I need to explain my position here. There are people that think that I am for open carry, strongly for it, that I'm against concealed carry. I'm not against concealed carry at all. I've concealed carried, big deal. I prefer open carry. I want them to see it. I want people to see it. I want people to get used to it. I want people to get comfortable around it. And I want the bad guys to know, hey, you don't want any of this. Whereas with concealed carry, they don't know. And I mean, you could go into a building where everybody's packing heat, but then again, you could go into a building where nobody's packing heat. So it's really, and I'm old, so that's the term I use. Okay, so whatever. But that's. I'm not saying one is better than the other. I think people need to do what they're legally allowed to do and what they feel works best for them. But for me, open carry, it works best for me. And I've had people say, oh, so they see it, they're going to come take it from you. Really? I'm going to pistol whip. If you try to take it out of my holster, I am going to beat you to death with this thing. I'm going to pistol whip you with it.
Unfortunately, some people can't think out of their small box, right? So especially people I've found that live in big cities, right? Like they just can't even imagine that there's someone like me out there who prefers to open carry because, man, when I'm hiking around in the desert and mountains and just walking around there, I'm not walking down a street in New York with like 500 people right next to me passing me, right? Where then I might be like, oh yeah, inside the waistband carry or something might be a better option for that. But where I'm at, open carry, or outside the waistband, open carry is the most comfortable way to carry. I don't care what anyone says; it is definitely the most comfortable way to carry a sidearm, and I'm all about that because I don't have people right next to me that I have to worry about grabbing my gun. Like it's not a thing here.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you there too. I mean, I find, being a big guy, open carry is a lot easier. I mean, luckily here, I've said it so many times. I always use an outside the waistband holster most of the time, and I'll just wear a baggy T-shirt when I was in Rhode Island to cover it up, to be concealed. But as I said, here in Indiana, if you got a concealed carry permit, you can open carry. So that's going to cover. I mean, I was always worried about when I was doing that for showing. It's like if I lift my arm up to grab something and the T-shirt rides up or something, that could have got you in trouble in Rhode Island. But here in Indiana, I'm not going to have to worry about it. I can open carry and not even, I can actually just wear a shirt tucked in if I wanted to now. That's what I like. But, guys, I screwed up. I'm going slightly off topic here. I screwed up big time. I was going, I applied for my license, my carry permit. It's on the way. I'm just waiting for it to show up in the mail. But I mean, I think it takes anywhere. They said right now they're running 30 to 45 days. I think is what they said. So I asked them a question. I said, well, I've got, 6 non-resident permits. They go, unfortunately, Indiana does not recognize. They recognize them if you're from a different state. If I was still living in Rhode Island, my Rhode Island license would be good here. But I'm trying to think where, because I'm a resident of Indiana, they won't let me use my
because you obtained them in Rhode Island.
Do what?
Because you obtained them while you were a resident of Rhode Island, not while you were a resident of Indiana.
Yeah. So I can use them everywhere, all the other states, but I can't use them in Indiana. So right now I can't carry, and it's it's a weird feeling, because I've been carrying now all the time for the last 3 years. So it's kind of strange.
If I was going to explain to an anti-gunner what it feels like not to carry when you're used to carrying, I would tell them this. I want you to leave your cell phone at home all day. Go about your day, do everything you normally do, and leave your cell phone at home all day long.
Great analogy.
Because you feel naked. You feel like something's missing. You feel like you've lost that capacity to do whatever it is you do, even though you don't necessarily use the gun. It's there. This goes back to my whole main reasoning for open carry. It's a deterrent. As long as you have it, you have the ability. As long as you have it, it's a deterrent. Although if it's concealed, if they can't see it, it's not as much of a deterrent as openly carrying it. But still, it's a deterrent. And for me, that's one of the most important things about having a weapon for self-defense is the deterrence factor. In the military, we learned that deterrence could be the difference between life or death or starting a war, and a deterrence is really important because you really don't want to start a war. Even though you're prepared for war at any given moment, we were ready to go to war all the time. Even though we weren't like on high alert, we were ready to go. And that was part of it. As long as our enemies knew, not only not to mess with us, but we're ready to go. We have the ability and we are ready. That's why the military constantly trains. People are like, why do they train all the time? Why do they spend all that money on training? It's because they're ready to go at a moment and they're good at what they do. And as much as I don't really care for all the people pushing training with firearms, if you really suck with guns, maybe it would help you to be ready at any given moment. But yeah, if you are against guns, don't own guns, don't like guns or whatever, and you're like, I just don't understand why you guys go all day without your cell phone and then come home and go, oh, now I get it.
Oh yeah. Hey, I've even gone down the road and it's out and realize I haven't got my phone. I'll turn around and come back and get it. I'm guilty of doing that. But what I said, I feel naked going out right now without carrying. I mean, I could put I could carry it and take the gamble, but I don't want to. I don't want to break the law. I'm meant to be a law-abiding citizen, just as best as I can be. So we'll see. I could carry my little 22 Magnum in my pocket, I guess. But it's still. But if I'm caught with a firearm, I'm breaking the law. So that's it. Let's hope it shows up quickly. That's all I'm saying. I'm just hoping it shows up. Anyway, I got a couple of questions to answer before we carry on with this conversation that been put in the chat. That guy's wife, Media, goes, "Hey Rick, I heard we're going to meet you in person next Saturday at the NRA. Yes, I'm going to be there. You ain't going to miss me. I'll more likely be in my scooter, and I'll be wearing my hat I got here, that has the every second matters on patch on it. So I will be there." So then another one is Grant Man says, cleaning guns, great therapy. Yes, it is. I love cleaning my gun. It does. I find it's like reloading. I find it very relaxing to me. But anyway, let's move on. So yes, back to carrying. So I said I can't wait to open carry without having the fear of being seen with an open gun. You know what I'm saying? I've seen a couple of people here in Indiana open carry. It's not widespread, not down here in the country where I'm at, but I've seen 2 or 3 people, with their gun on their hip. So, I mean, it's and I said the people that I've seen with them and the other people around them, don't think nothing of it. I reckon half the time they wouldn't even see it there. Actually, because I don't believe people really go looking for it, do they? That you're actually carrying. I think the only people that notice you're carrying are other people who carry. I think.
Yeah, I was about to say that. I notice when other people are open carrying. I'm not looking for it, but I notice it. But I'm not. I don't really notice concealed carry. But when people have seen me open carry, less than half of them even notice it. at least not right away. So,
Yeah.
and I mean, I carry a big flap holster with a big, full-size gun. I don't have this like tucked behind my back, tiny little subcompact Glock or something. So.
Yeah. So, but anyway, we got David. The Kingpin said he'll be here shortly. So we got another panelist coming, so that's good. All right. Oh, that gun's wife. I can still carry, even though I could open carry here in Texas, because I am more comfortable carrying that way. Yeah, I mean, if you're comfortable carrying that way, that's fine.
Yeah,
I don't have.
that's the whole point. Is you got to learn and do what's right for you, but not necessarily take someone else's advice that's way different than you, or give advice to someone who's in a completely different situation than you, right? So
Yeah.
you want to take advice from people who are in very similar situations than you, of a similar mindset. Where you're like, oh my God, are we twins? Are we best friends? Like, those are the people you want to take advice from, because those are the people that are going to be in, like I said, a similar lifestyle situation, similar, same town, stuff like that. Those are the people you really want to take advice from. Why would someone who lives in the country want to take advice from someone who lives in a city, or vice versa, on the best way to carry their firearm, right?
Yeah, that guy's wife. If you weren't here a little bit earlier in the show, I was saying that I'm big on open carry. I'm pro open carry, but I'm not against concealed carry at all. And when people hear me talk about open carry, they immediately go to, oh, so you're against concealed carry. You don't like concealed carry. You think it's stupid. You think it's wrong. You hate it. It's like, dude, take it easy. Just because you conceal carry and I open carry doesn't mean, but that's what people go to with a lot. It's just like when I talk about external safeties. People just, it's like, that's not what I said.
Tell you what, go on like a 10-mile mountain hike, right? Wearing an inside the waistband Kydex holster appendix carry one day, right? And then do it one day with an outside the waistband leather holster, and stuff like that. So, I mean, yeah, like it's funny how people seem like want to jump at differences, right? They want to jump at those differences and automatically start pointing out faults and all that, without even looking at where the person's coming from in their situation, right?
Right.
So,
and Dead Horse,
like, we really got to analyze we really have to analyze ourselves and our situation, the current place, our lifestyle. We really have to break it down and find what works for us, right? Use what works for you, throw it in your toolbox, and what doesn't, just, set it out on the curb.
Right. A lot of times when I'm talking about something that's my opinion, I'll say, do what you want. It's your money. Do what you want. It's your channel. Do what you want. It's a free country. Do what you want. Your situation might be different than mine. Do what you want. Your experience and background might be whatever it is. But people don't get that far. They just, and I'm not saying that you did that, that guy's wife. I'm not sure if you might have thought that, because I catch a lot of flack for that. And like what Dead Horse was saying, your situation might be different, the laws might be different, your reasoning, your whatever it is different. And that doesn't mean that one person is right and one person is wrong. And that's another thing too. I've noticed that people push other people to adopt their behaviors, their practices, their preferences, whatever you want to call it. They're like, oh man, I shoot 9mm, so everybody's got to shoot 9mm. Oh man, I train all the time, so everybody's got to train all the time. Oh man, I can still carry, so everybody should be considered carry. And it's like, dude, are you trying to push everybody into doing what you do because you feel that something's wrong with what you're doing? And if everybody else isn't doing it, you're not getting enough reassurance.
It's not that they feel. It's not that they feel something's wrong, Squib. It's that they need that extra justification.
And I don't see. And you could say, oh, you just have an inflated ego. No, it's not really that. It's just I don't need anybody to tell me that I'm doing the right thing for me. And it's just weird when I have people that want to get argumentative over the most petty, trivial stuff that has nothing to do with somebody breaking the law or being unsafe or anything reasonable like that. They just want to get into this whole thing about, well, my way's the only way, my way's the right way. And it's like, dude, do you have that I don't know what it is. I can't think of the wording here, but I mean, do you need that much reassurance that everybody has to do it your way? And there's some people that are like that, and it's really kind of hard to hold a conversation with them, because I'm not one who's trying to change anybody's mind. You ask my opinion, I'm going to give you my opinion. If you don't do what I do, I don't care. Just, don't, yeah.
Let's bring the Kingpin in. I mean, unfortunately, there in Maryland, if you can get a CCW, it's concealed only, right?
Yeah, open carry is not allowed here unless, of course, you're a cop or something like that, security, some type of set aside group of people. But for your average everyday citizen, it's conceal only.
Now, what happens, say for argument's sake, how's the law in Maryland there? Say you're concealed carry and you go reach something on the top shelf and all of a sudden it shows.
I'm not too sure, but I don't think we have any brandishing laws here. I have a concealed carry video coming up soon, which I'll find out deeper into. But to give a definitive answer, I can't do that. But from what I understand, is we don't have brandishing laws here.
Okay. All right. That's good. If anybody's interested, I put the link if you want to join the panel on the gun channel side. That guy's wife says, my husband carries open and concealed, but that's what he's comfortable with. Black Cat Outdoors, so he carries both open and concealed. Depends on what I'm doing, where I'm going.
Yeah. Yeah, most people I see who live like in not big cities do both.
Yeah.
It's only in the like large cities that I see people are pretty much like, I always CCW. Like that's all I can do.
Oh yeah, I can understand that, because in a big city, I said, when I say you're carrying, most people don't notice, but in a big city, I think once somebody sees it, then the mass panic happens.
I think once you start carrying a gun, that's when you start really becoming aware and looking at other people, and then that's when you really can tell. I probably see it 2 or 3 times a day, where like I'll just walk into a place or something, be like, that guy's carrying. I see it. I see the straight lines and the small of the back holster, and like I don't know. You can just point out people's faults. Like you just notice it once you start carrying, right? Like you guys experience that.
Yeah, you're right. All right. Anyway, do we want to talk any more of that, or we move on to my next topic?
Yeah, I want to say something about that.
Go for it.
Dead Horse, you hike out in the desert, and you're talking about it's really helpful for you for hiking out in the desert. And that's something that we like to do. But unfortunately, I live in Michigan. So when we travel out west, we do a lot of hiking. Well, we were recently out there for spring break. I was going to bring a couple of handguns with us with holsters so that I could open carry while we were hiking. And I was going to bring something for my wife that would work just so she could finally open carry, because she hasn't open carried in Michigan and she doesn't have a concealed pistol license yet. So she's only handled a gun at home or at the range, not just carried it. And out there are places where you have constitutional carry, you can just open carry. And I kind of wanted to do it just more for her, for the experience. But unfortunately, on the way home, we went to White Sands Missile Base to go to the Trinity site. And one of the rules is you cannot bring a firearm onto that federal installation. And being a law-abiding citizen, I could have just hid it in the trunk and they would have never known. But I decided not to bring the guns out because we were actually going. It actually coincided with the 1st April of the year. So the first April, the first Saturday in April and the first Saturday in October every year, most years, they open up the site where they detonated the first atomic weapon to the public, and it's only one day and all this. And one of the rules is that you can't bring any firearms. So I decided to be a good citizen and not do it. But I'm thinking that maybe next time we go out west, I want to bring a couple handguns, and I want her to experience open carrying. And I know she can do it here in Michigan, but I mean, we only do it like when we walk the dog or something. I'd like to, kind of do it while we are hiking out in the desert. I mean, you're really lucky to live where you live, Dead Horse.
Yeah, it is. It's actually really nice, But I specifically moved here for a reason, Like I moved out here just for that reason, to get out of the city. I've pretty much been in larger cities my whole life, So it's only been the last 8-9 years or so that I've, been lucky to live out here in the country.
Yeah, right. Well, maybe one day you'll get to experience that, Kingpin. Yeah. That you can.
I think that's why I have a unique experience that I do, is because, when I did live in the big city, I always CCW'd. I never open carried, So it was a new experience, moving out here and being able to do that. And You know, so I can easily see people who are kind of stuck in one mindset, like, oh, I'll never open carry, right? But you know, or and stuff. But I find it's situational. Like, if your situation changes, then your mindset can change.
Yeah.
Kingpin, if you ever come out to Michigan, you can open carry my AK. Well, we'll walk the dog through my neighborhood. I'll show you my neighborhood and stuff, and you can open carry my AK, and it's 110% legal to do.
Yeah.
You can.
What,
I don't know about racking the action over and over again. That might creep people out, but
As long as I get to hear it once, then I'll be satisfied.
yeah. Well, people in the old chat here, they're actually talking about the old. Do you pronounce? Is that pronounced right? The Grant rifle? Is that the M1A? They're
Yeah.
talking about. I mean, is it?
the M1 is the Garand. John Garand invented it, but a lot of people still call it the Garand because that's what it's always. So when I talk about John Garand, he's John Garand, but when I talk about the gun, I say Garand. The M1A is a semi-automatic M14. The M14 came from the Garand. It shares a lot of things with it as far as the design, but it's chambered in a different caliber, and it works slightly different. And a lot of people get the M1 and the M1A mixed up a lot because they're just not familiar with it.
Okay. I mean, I'm thinking of the old sort of World War II rifle. You know, which one's that?
That's the M1 Garand. That was
Okay.
invented in 1936, I believe it was, and it started getting fielded in about 42, and they used it all the way into the beginning of the Vietnam War, and we did a lot of arming our allies after the war with these things. That's where these surplus guns are coming back from these countries because they've been stored in warehouses for decades and decades and decades. There's still a few, you know, like Silent Drill Team and that sort of thing use M1 Garands. But for the most part, the surplus ones are out on the civilian market for everybody to own. They used to be, you could buy these things all day long for $500. I mean, they were all over the place, and they were just a bit. And then the popularity went up. More people got into shooting. The prices went through the roof. Some of the big surplus of them that the civilian marksmanship program had started drying up, and the price just went up. The value is, that's kind of an opinionated thing. I love it. I'd rather have an M1 Garand than my M16 any day. And you go, but the M16 holds 30 rounds, and the M1 only holds 8. Yeah, and it's not about capacity; it's about skill. Even though the sights are about the same. If you were in the military and you learned on an M16A1 or M16A2 with iron sights, and you've never handled a Garand before, the sights work exactly the same. The training, as far as doping the rifle and doing your windage, it's all the same. So it's really kind of interesting how the iron sight stuff kind of stayed the same over decades. Now they are all using optics and stuff. They've lost their, they don't do that so much, but it's easy to transition over.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, how much are they going for now then, if I wanted to buy one?
Starting price is about $1,100.
Jesus Christ.
I think I paid $450 for mine. But
really good ones, like the ones you really want for collectability, really start out about 1,800.
Yeah,
like, and we're talking like collector's grade, like where we're getting into actually, nice examples instead of shooters. Like the ones that are shooters, those start out at 1,000, 11, 1,200. But when you start getting into like the ones that you are desirable, you're probably looking like $2,000, starting.
Now, Squib, you were talking about the price going up. Now, I've heard you mention that before, and I can't remember exactly which angle you. Did the price skyrocket because of, like Dead Horse was saying, the collectability, or was gun laws and gun restrictions?
No, it's not that at all. It's you, David. You're actually the reason that I have to pay more for guns that used to be affordable. So many people got into shooting. It wasn't that nobody shot, but suddenly, just because they were trying to ban guns, because of these laws, during the assault weapons ban, lots of this stuff was still available, and because it's not that they weren't unpopular, just not everybody had one, not everybody wanted them. But suddenly you want to ban it, now everybody wants it. Now everybody's getting involved.
Well, there's some other examples for that too. One is video games. Another is that
Yeah.
there are so many different soldiers that use these weapons in times of war, and the wars were so large that these weapons were used in, that these soldiers came home, had 2 or 3 sons, and then those boys heard stories about this, and they grew up and they wanted them, and then their sons wanted what Grandpa had, and stuff like that. And so I think a lot of, and then there's those reenactments are super popular now. A lot of people are getting into reenactments and stuff like that. So between all that, I think that's a big contributing factor, especially video games. Whether us older guys want to admit it or not, I think video games are a huge major contributing factor to getting some of these young kids I see who like 22 years old, and he's like, oh, look at my M1 Grand, right? Like when I was 22, I didn't. An M1
Nope.
Grand wasn't on my top of my list,
And that's just it. And I don't want to say it's a bad thing. Don't get me wrong. I think it's great that more and more people are getting involved. They're learning. Whether it just be like I want guns. Guns are cool. I don't care about gun rights. At least you're getting into it. From there, you never know. At a certain point, you might go, hey, maybe I should get off my butt and join the fight. Maybe after a younger person starts having kids and they start looking around, they start thinking about the world differently, and they're going, if I don't fight now, my kids won't have these things that I have. And your mindset changes and stuff like that. But at least it gets somebody's foot in the door. But honestly, it's not that the gun shows weren't packed. It's not that the gun stores weren't packed. It was not. But the prices just went through the roof when all these newbies came in and started snatching everything up. And it's like, hey, man, So it's good that people are getting into it, but it's making it more expensive. So when whatever your reasoning is, it's good to see more and more people get into it. Now, I was at a show about 4 years ago, and they had an M1C, which is one of the 2 sniper variants, in mint condition with matching serial numbers on everything. That's the scope, the mount, and the rifle. Now, that could have been a forgery. He did have a certificate of authenticity, but it could have been a forgery. But still, he wanted $3,600 for the gun, if that gives you any idea about what some of the more rare versions would cost. So just if you're going to go get one, bring a lot of cash or bring a credit card, because it's going to be pretty pricey. But after you shoot it, you'll be like, oh man, this thing is sweet.
Yeah, I would love to shoot one. Oh, Dale Birchfield, I think that's what his name is on here. He said he paid $89 in Sears catalog back in the '60s for one. So I mean, that's another. I mean, that's like the other rifle. Is it the Mauser? Like, I mean, a few years ago, you can get them for around $200 or under. Now they're over 400.
Yeah, I could go to a gun show in the 90s, and there'd be piles of these things on tables, piles and piles of $100 and tons of spare parts, tons and tons. Now I go to the gun shows, I hardly ever see any parts, and these things start at like 400 and go up from there.
The reason why Mausers are so desirable nowadays is solely because of the internet. Because of the internet, people learned how easy it is to rechamber or rebarrel a Mauser and how strong the actions are, and they actually learned about these guns and learned how that they can do this work at home, right? And that's why there's been such a and I've seen this example firsthand from one of my friends who builds nothing but Mausers, and so that it's literally because of the internet. People are actually becoming aware of how easy it is to do those guns and how strong the action is and how great of a gun you can do yourself. That's why Mausers have become so desirable and are just non-existent now.
Yeah, I missed the boat on that one too. But I said they were. I mean, I was hearing about them, but when I first got in about 3 years ago, but the price has been going up ever since. The price just like when I got into guns.
But just like the Garands and the Mosins and all the other milsurps, okay, there were large batches of them coming into the country. I mean, truckloads and truckloads of containers and containers of these things. These countries were selling their surplus weapons that they didn't want, didn't need. Their citizens didn't have a legal right to own, and they needed the money. And it was out there and it was cheap. But as these supplies started to dry up, because more and more popular. I mean, it was kind of interesting. For years and years, these things just sat around and the price wouldn't go up, and you could always get one. It's like, well, I don't want a Mosin because I can get one any day, right? And then suddenly the Mosins started to go up. It's like, oh man, I better grab a Mosin. Classic Firearms were selling those M39s, those Finnish Mosins. He had 9 tractor trailer loads of these things. A guy had bought these things, a really rich guy had bought these things back in, I think, the 90s to hold on to as an investment. He died, and his kids are stuck with his estate and don't know what to do with them, so they sold them to Classic Firearms. And Classic Firearms milked this for all it was worth. They'd release a batch of them, and they'd just sell like that. And then they go, well, that was it. And then they release another batch. And finally, he went out there and he fessed up that he had 9 tractor trailer loads of these things. But now they're all gone. And, you know, I'm sure there were plenty of dealers who bought some, and you'll see them at the gun shows. And these things that were $450 a couple of years ago, they probably marked them up, you know, for double at this point. And that's what happens when you miss the boat. You're going to end up paying more. But if you look, you can find this stuff.
Yeah, you're right. But I mean, at the time, also, I'm mostly just interested in pistols myself. When I first got started, I mean, that's why I got. That's why I've only got a shotgun and a little, you know, 22. That's the only rifles I got. I got a 22 rifle, which is an M&P 1522, and I got a shotgun, 12 gauge. The other, was it 7? Yeah, 7. I think it's 7. I got to count them again. Is all you know, firearms. You know, with my M&P 45, my 92, my Beretta 92, stuff like that. They're all in firearms. So I haven't bought any for a while, but I plan. That's one of the reasons I'm going to the NRA show this weekend coming, is because I want to put my hands on some, you know, one of those 380EZs and all the other sort of guns that I could use, especially during the winter months when the old arthritis is killing me. So that's one of the reasons I'm going up there for that, to check those out. So,
now, you know, we talked about surplus rifles because we kind of went off on a tangent on the M1 Garand, but
yeah,
when it comes to surplus handguns, here's something to keep in mind. This is something I've noticed in Dead Horse. I don't know if you've noticed this too. When milsurp handguns come onto the market in quantity and the pricing comes down or the availability goes up or whatnot, and you're like, oh, I've been wanting one of these, I'm going to get this. I've found that with some of them, getting spare mags is not a problem, and with other ones, what you get with the gun is what you get with the gun, and they are next to impossible to find. Or when you do find them, the price is ridiculous. So like, I got a sweet deal on this, you know, former Commie Block handgun, and how much for a mag? What? You know, I don't know. Have you run into that, Dead Horse?
he must have stepped away, or he's talking. He doesn't realize he's on mute. I tell you what. I mean, I bought that P64, that Polish gun, and I bought some a couple extra mags, and I can't think of the name of the company now. Where I got them from. Damn it! But I had to get my file out and file a little bit around the edges to make the goddamn things work, because the reproduction ones are slightly different. I think they were based on ones made after a certain date, and I didn't realize this at the time because I said I was naive. My P64 was before that date, so it didn't. There was a slight. It was only took a couple of strokes with a file on them, and then they worked. It was weird. It was only a minute little piece that you had to take off. It was kind of strange, but they're working great now. So, but I said I don't use the gun because it gives me goddamn slide bite so bad. So, anyway, moving on. Let's talk. What else? What's my other topic here? Oh yes, what you call it? I was listening to while I was setting up this morning. I was listening to Budget Guns and Gears, and I heard Squibb talk about it. I'm assuming everybody's read it or heard about it. The New Yorker article on the NRA. I just wondered what everybody's take on it was. What about you, Dead Horse? You back yet?
I think that it's hard because, look at where the source is coming from, right?
Yeah.
But, so I don't know. I'm trying to take it with a grain of salt. I see what they're saying, but I'm not necessarily going to be like, oh, that's all 100% factual, or, I'm not going to take them at their word. That's for sure, right?
Oh yeah, I agree with you. And some of that stuff is more likely is true, but I don't know. As you said, I don't know all about it. Plus, I mean, New Yorker ain't a pro to a magazine. Plus, which I don't remember him saying it this morning when he was reading the article, but when I read it, it said in there partway down, a lot of this information came from the Trace. The Trace is an anti-gun 2A propaganda that is sponsored by Bloomberg. So you got to take it all with a pinch of salt, I guess. As you said. But
yeah, I don't want to take them at their word for it just because of the source, So I'm not gonna go all up in arms about it and be like, oh, this is so credible, and no, because you know how they spin stuff.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So I'm sure some things in there are factual, but yeah.
Oh, I agree with you. What about you, Kingpin? Have you read it or heard about it?
Yeah, I was on with Budget yesterday when he was reading it, and of course, the New Yorker is a big pile of steaming. Looks like a magazine, but it's not really. And I'm not surprised. It's the Squib is making a pretty good point the other day about business in general. I'm not surprised that a bunch of money comes in and gets spent the way that the people that donate the money don't like. Every charity from the Wounded Warriors to Susan G. Komen to whatever other one you want to name, they take a bunch. You send them $100, and about 10 cents of that money gets to where you intended to go. So I'm not really surprised at that angle, but the New Yorkers trash, and I wouldn't take them for. I wouldn't let them tell me what day of the week it is.
Yeah, that's the way. That's the way I was taking it. So, Alaska AK's joined us, but before we get to him, we'll get to him last because he joined us last here. But Squib, you got any more on what you were saying on that show? Was it yesterday?
Yeah, it was last night. Look, this is just like when I talk about open carry and people get bent out of shape, think that I don't like concealed carry. And it's like, that's not what I'm saying. And last night, I wasn't excusing the NRA at all. But that's the way real life works. Honestly, big business, big charity, big politics, all this stuff, that's the way it really works. If you've never been around it, it might seem like a foreign concept to you. And if you're young and you're naive and you think the world works a certain way, it doesn't. The reality is there's lots of money laundering, there's lots of nepotism, there's lots of shady things going on that aren't illegal. They're immoral or they're unethical, but they're not illegal. There's a lot of things that you can legally do that are really not cool, but it's not against the law. And it's been going on forever. These guys have ways to hide their income so they don't pay taxes on it. These guys have ways to get kickbacks. These guys have ways of gaining favors with each other. These guys have ways of hiring their friends and their family, and you see it in business all the time. I've been offered kickbacks to give contracts to people who wanted an in at the big corporation I worked at, and my ethics say no, I'm not going to do that. But somebody else might go, that's enough for me to take the family on vacation, and they're going to say, hell yeah, I'll sign it.
I think anyone who's owned a business and has had an accountant or a tax attorney, whether they want to admit it or they want to, be naive about it or not, exactly what Squib's talking about. If you own a business and you've had a tax attorney or accountant and they've said, oh, if you do this, you save this much money. If you do that, yeah, like, and they'll straight up tell you, well, it's like, it's not against the law, but it's, it's like, circumventing it.
I'll give you an example. A former friend of mine started up his own business. We went out to lunch And he said, I'll take the bill, and he pulls out the credit card, and he goes, watch this. He says the name of his company. He goes, now it's legal. I go, what's legal? He says, all I have to do is take anybody out to eat, say the name of my company, and legally it's become a business dinner, lunch, whatever, and it's a total write-off.
Oh,
and I'm like, wow. And you might go,
absolutely.
but you might say, that's unethical, but it's not illegal. You see, all they're doing here at the NRA is just doing that on a bigger scale. Big companies do this. Politicians do this. Look, these lawyers and these politicians and stuff like that, these people that pay the real campaign donations, that pay the real, money that's behind the scenes that none of us will ever have. They set all this stuff up so that they can't fail. They make sure that if a law is written that hurts you or I, it doesn't hurt them as much. And they do it by doing these backdoor shady things. It's not right, but until somebody makes it illegal, and even then, right? We've seen some of the politicians do illegal things, Hillary, and not go to jail, right?
Yeah.
So it's a whole different world, and people could be mad that they don't live in that world. But when you do live in that world, you've either got to go with the flow or you're not going to be in that world very long. And I'm not saying that what these people are doing right, but if you think this is the only place that does it, or this is the first time it's ever happened, you're really naive.
Yeah, you're right. Anyway, let's bring in Alaskan AK in on this topic. So what do you got to say about Alaskan? Talk to me. I know you're there. Or have we already...
Sorry, I had to put my cigarette out. So no, I agree with Squib 100%. I'm an NRA member, and I mean, other companies do it. Of course, they're going to do it. Like he was saying last night, the GOA, they want to be the NRA, and these smaller gun organizations, they want to be the NRA. And then, I'll take it a step further with talking about YouTube channels, right? These small YouTube channels that talk crap about Hickok and stuff like that. They want to be Hickok, but I won't get into that. But, I agree with Squib. I absolutely agree with Squib. I don't have much else to say about that. I mean, I'm an NRA supporter, and it's going to happen. They're no different than any other big organization or company.
But Alaska, see, you bring up a good point, though. I hear people come on and they'll start tearing Coleon Noir or Hickok or any of these other people a new butthole over the fact that they get paid by the NRA. They're sponsored by the NRA. They have to endorse the NRA. They show up at these NRA events, blah, 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 blah. And these are small channels that are angry, okay? If the NRA came to Channel X with its small amount of subscribers, who's got to work a 9 to 5 that they can't stand to pay their bills because they're not making enough off Patreon and all this other garbage, and said, we'll give you $1 million a year and full benefits and a corporate jet and all this. All you have to do is show up to shooting events, shoot guns that most people will never see in their lifetime, and stand in front of the camera and say the NRA is great. You think that small channel would be like, I'm sorry, my ethics prevent me from doing that because you guys support red flag laws and ban bump stocks? No, they'd be like, heck yeah, I'm all over it. The next thing you know, it'd be like, oh, all that stuff I said about the NRA, let me explain something. I was wrong, and here's why. Because they'd be making bank. And if anybody out there who's bashed, anybody who's endorsed by the NRA right now is shaking their head going, I'd never do that, you're full of crap, dude. You are full, unless you're a millionaire and you don't need any money, you're full of crap. And I'm not saying that what some of these people do is right or wrong once again. Some of them say, they're shills. I don't know. Some of the things that I hear some of these people say, I don't think they're shills. I think they're finding a balance between getting paid by the NRA and saying things that don't necessarily violate their ethics. And you might go, no, they're okay, you're jealous. That's what it really comes down to, is you're jealous. But, some of this stuff that happens, it's just the way it is. You can glean through it and try to get good information out of it, or you can just be angry all the time and jealous.
So keep in mind that none of that information that came out in that article, as far as I know, is like new information. So the way, like all of that, any NRA member or anyone could have looked up. It was all public information. Like none of it was like secretive or like secret documents or anything like that, right? And is it possible that Bloomberg smelled blood in the water and said, oh my God, look at these gun guys. They're eating each other right now. now's the perfect time to come out with a bunch of news stories and make sure that they're in, New York Times and high profile paper. Now's the time to, now's the time to start our media campaign, right? Because there's already blood in the water.
Yes, he's right. And
You
I
know,
mean, the way.
Go ahead, Squib.
Oh, the way people got an echo. The way our own community is just, we tear each other up, or we tear up the big channels or whatever. He's right. The blood in the water, and it's a perfect, strike while the iron's hot. But I mean, as far as, I told Budget this on the show yesterday. I said, I knew all this already. I've known this for a long time. Even before I worked for a big company, I knew all this stuff. I just didn't know the specifics. I didn't know the names of the companies, and I'm not talking about the exact dollar amounts, but I knew all this shady backdoor stuff was going on, and I've been saying all this stuff. I just don't know if anybody's heard me say it, but I've said it on air before about some of the things that go on, and that's just the way it is. So I mean, Dead Horse is right. This is if you had any clue, you knew, and if you didn't, you got your head under a rock, and you're just like, I'm going to send in my membership dues, and that's enough. Well, but he's right though. It is a really good time. The way, especially some of these other channels, and once again, we go back to the whole jealousy thing, and I did a speaking squibbish on this. If you're a channel and you're looking to get bigger, what's a quick and easy way to do it? Bash another big channel, bash an organization, say what's popular at the time. And when you hear some of these channels, they're either trying to protect what they've built because they're afraid somebody's going to take it from them, or they're trying to build the channel up rapidly because they're in it for the money. Some of the things that they say, there's some truth in it. And then there's other things that are just plain fabrications and exaggerations, but their fans want to hear it. It gets them more views, it gets them more comments, it gets them more likes, it gets them more subscribers. And and we are eating each other, and it's just the way it is. I don't know how we're going to keep our differences, but yet all work together. I just don't know how it's going to work.
Yeah, well, Black Cat here, he's I can see where he's coming from. He goes, he doesn't think that anybody could pay him enough to say, I think gun laws are okay. More gun laws are okay. I understand where he's coming from. I don't think gun laws are okay. But here, I got a question. I threw this out in the daily chat. I'm not a big enough channel here to worry about it. But I think, this is my personal opinion. Now, I could be totally wrong. But from what I heard from people on gun channels, the gun community, listening to YouTubes and listening to gun radio, chit-chat and everything else, is out of all the anti-gun laws that are hitting Congress right now, red flag laws more likely will be the one that the president will sign into law. So, no compromise. So, my question is, do we let the way it's written by the Democrats or the anti-gunners, whoever you want to say is written the law, right? We let it go as they wrote it, or do we try to amend it, put amendments in it to make it easier? Now, is that compromise, or is that rolling over?
No, we need to try to compromise. I mean, let's be realistic and live in the real world for a minute, okay? The Constitution can be changed. It's been changed before. Anyone that says no compromise, hey, I wasn't for the ban of bump stocks. Of course, I would love to own a fully automatic weapon right now without doing all the other crap. But we need to live in the real world, okay? It's 2019. It ain't, sorry, this ain't the 50s no more when we had more gun rights. We need to compromise or we're going to lose it all. Hickok was right. You have to compromise. It's either compromise or lose everything. That's my opinion.
And I agree with you there. And I think there's a misunderstanding. People instantly jumped on Hickok when he talked about the ordinance that they passed where he was at about shooting certain times of night. Okay, they weren't listening. People shut their minds. They hear the first sentence, they hear the first thing, they shut their minds, they act ignorant, they don't think it through, they don't question stuff, they just instantly jump on YouTube and go, he's a FUD, he hates us, he's against us, he's a shill, Listen to what the man said. The man said they were going to take away our right to shoot in our backyard, period. Period. We own acres and acres of land. We've been doing this forever. This has been the way it has been here forever. If you own a lot of property in the country, you could shoot whatever you want, whenever you want, however you want, as long as it's on your land. They were going to take that. So I went in there and I sat down with them and I worked it out where now we're not going to shoot after whatever it was, 9 or 10 o'clock at night and not before 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning. And they were actually, when they wrote it, they didn't write it correctly. And he said, I sat down there with them and rewrote it with them to make sure that that got in there. And everybody jumped on there. He hates guns. He's taking our gun rights. No, you idiot. He just saved your ability to shoot in your backyard. Oh, I'm sorry. You can't shoot tracers at midnight. Would you like to not be able to shoot at all? And you go, well, that's compromise. We're giving away the piece of the cake. I'm sick of the cake argument, guys. I'm sick of the cake argument. It's not that it's right, but those guys in that county in Tennessee were going to lose the right to do something they've always done. He saved it. I realize it's a watered down of what they wanted. They wanted to be able to shoot all the time, and they should. Don't get me wrong. And he even thinks they should. But if he didn't sit in there and do that, right now, he couldn't even film videos in his backyard anymore without breaking the law. And that's what Alaska's talking about with compromise. Do you want to lose everything, or do you want to lose a little bit that you can deal with? When we got concealed carry in each of these states have got rules about you can't carry into a stadium, or you can't carry it at a school, or you can't carry this, or some places you have to have a sign. Some places the sign means nothing. Each state has different laws. But at least you got concealed carry, whereas before, unless you owned a business or you were a retired cop, you couldn't conceal carry. Nobody likes these compromise, but compromise is better than not having it at all. Compromise is better than losing it at all. And people keep talking about this compromise because we're losing. You know why we're losing? It's because you say no compromise, because you're going to fight it. You yell, shall not be infringed. You fight it to the nth degree, and you lose anyhow. Whereas you can get in there and you can mingle with the enemy, and you can at least get some stuff inserted in there so that you don't lose your right to own the gun, to buy the gun, to carry the gun, to shoot the gun, to do whatever with the gun. Sure, now there's constraints. I don't like them. I don't like them at all. And I definitely don't like when these politicians go behind our backs and vote stuff in, or when they break the very laws that they swore to uphold to put in laws that aren't even legal that we have to abide by because we have to worry about going to jail. But Hickok didn't do anything wrong. And you people shut your minds and you opened your mouths, and it only made it worse. And I'm not saying the guy walks on water, just the same way I'm not saying the NRA are saints. But you guys have to think about this. And I think some of you guys haven't been in the fight long enough to see how some of this stuff has gone back and forth. Instead, you just listen to angry people. And I know I sound angry right now because, well, I guess I am. But you're angry people yelling, shall not be infringed, and talking about this stupid cake, instead of going, what can I do to get the other side off my back and to be able to keep my guns? And if it's, I can't shoot at midnight anymore, so be it. At least I can still shoot on my own property that I pay taxes on.
All right. Blind Shooter in the chat says, at what point do you say it's time to stop compromising and stand our ground and not give them any more?
Almost every time we've done that, we've lost everything. So think about it.
The person that says no compromise, are they prepared to pick up a firearm and go to protect those rights? Are they prepared to put their family at risk and go to war against the government? No, they're not. They're just talking a lot of crap. See, I don't even like talking about that issue either, because it's people that don't have a family, they don't have children, and when it comes time to do it, they're not going to do it.
Yeah. Here's another one too. I mean, somebody else brought up another thing. It was like Squibb will probably buy a Springfield 1911 too. Now, Springfield Armory, because being a 2A guy, yes, they done the wrong thing. I mean, they shit on the state of Illinois. Isn't that where they're from? Isn't that where they're based in Illinois?
I like how so many people shit on Springfield Armory for basically giving up fucking Chicago, right? But yet they carry Smith & Wessons and Colts and Rugers and all these other guns that have given up national rights and have caved nationally, and not just to a single shitty city that's already been lost. But so I like how people keep bringing up the Springfield argument while they carry a Colt, a Smith & Wesson, or a Ruger in their pocket.
Or they said they were carrying an
or
XD.
any of the other companies that have, caved.
Yeah.
Or they were saying they were carrying an XD before this happened. Are you going to buy another XD? Well, absolutely. It's the greatest gun ever invented. It's even better than Glock. It's like, well, wait a minute. I can understand what you owned before this happened, but you're still going to support them? Well, yeah, they make the XD. It's the greatest Croatian gun ever. And it's like, look, we all have opinions on this stuff. And the reason I get so passionate is just like what Alaska said. I have kids. I'm thinking about my future. Some of you guys are only thinking about your toy that you're going to shoot tomorrow. You don't have kids. You're not thinking about the future. You care about the Second Amendment for right now, and you do say you care about it for later, but you really don't have any anchor in that. I do most of this stuff. I started it before I had kids, but once I had kids, everything changed, and I do most of it for them, not for me, because I'm only getting older. Eventually, I'm going to die off. I want my kids and my grandkids to be able to have things. And sometimes compromise sucks. It does. But if compromise means you can still shoot in your backyard and you worked with these idiots, you can go back and work with these idiots when you want to get something changed on concealed carry, and you can bring the facts in and you can go, we did this and we did that. Now we want to be able to conceal carry in this place where we couldn't before. And the law gets amended. Or you're going for constitutional carry and you go in there and you go, look, you remember me, the guy who compromised on the not shooting in your backyard thing? Well, now I'm here to get us constitutional carry. You can't just go in there with no compromise, and then you just keep losing and losing and losing, and then you scratch your head and go, I don't know what we're doing wrong. So, and I don't like what Springfield did. I don't like what Rock River Arms did, but they're not a government entity, so I can't vote against them, but I can boycott them. So, but on the other hand, you could say, well, they compromised. No, they didn't compromise. They sold people out. They sold out their state to make money, which is totally legal, once again, just like these NRA donations and stuff like that. But it irritates the crap out of me how naive some of you guys are. You're just young, you're idealistic, and you think the world works a certain way, and it doesn't. And I'm sorry that it doesn't, because I really wish it did work by the book, and everybody was good, and everything was nice, and we could all just lock arms and kumbaya and rainbows and unicorn. But that's not the way the world works. So sometimes it's ugly, and you just have to work with ugly.
You're right. But where I was going with the Springfield thing, I actually agree what you're saying. I don't like what they did. Will I buy a Springfield? I doubt it. But it comes to, when you look at all the gun magazines that I've seen do carry advertisements by them. Radio shows are still sponsored by them. It hasn't affected the 2A community at all. It only seems to bother people here on gun channels, the YouTube's channels. It hasn't bothered the big picture. So I don't know. I'm at a loss on that one. I really am. I don't think we should compromise, but back to where I started this conversation about the red flag laws. So we don't try to make any amendments to it. I think it's going to pass. Everybody that I hear say it's going to pass, and he's the one that the president's going to sign. So we just let it go with our shall not be infringed. We keep that stand. We don't try to make any amendments to it, and it still passes. I'd rather have it passed with some amendments in it that don't make it so harsh, if possible, than I'd rather be screwed in the ass with Vaseline than be screwed in the ass without it.
Yep. And see, there you go. You get involved and you go, I don't like this, but we're not going to win this one. So what can we do to minimize our damages? Maybe we can slip in some pork barrel politics like the left does all the time, and we can slip something in saying there's going to be a penalty for a false police report. Wouldn't that be great? It'd be great if we could get in there and we could be in there and go, oh, here come these gun guys again. They're going to try to block it. And instead we slip it in and they just sign off on it. And next thing you know, that anti-gunner that wants to take away your constitutional rights is behind bars and you're not, because we got involved instead of standing outside, going, shall not be infringed, shills, and all this NRA, blah, blah, blah. We're not doing ourselves any favors. We just aren't.
Yeah. Oh, I want something just unknown user changed the subject totally. I wanted to bring this up too, but why you brought it up, I'm going to think about it. He said something about you may want to keep an eye on your view counts. So if they drop off, they may be shadow banning you. I clicked the bell again. This will make it the third time. Yes, in the last week, all the YouTube channels that I subscribe to, and I click the old bell to be notified when they put out a new video, I haven't had one notification from any of them this week. Not one. So has anybody else had that problem, or is it just me?
I mean, I've had stuff like that happen in the past, but not en masse, not to like every channel.
Yeah,
They
I've had it
turned-
on every channel.
YouTube turned all my notification bells off, and I can't re-ring them.
Well, I go to the channel, the little two sort of like marks on each side of the bell, like it's saying it's ringing,
Mhm.
right? It's there, but they're not doing what they're meant to be doing.
No, mine are straight turned off, and when I go to click it back again, it says error 404.
Oh, Jesus.
So I apologize if you guys are putting out videos and I haven't been watching them. That's why, because I don't get the notifications.
Okay, here we go. Clovertech. Number 2, compromise is second. Oh, you wrote something earlier? Compromise is semi-acceptable if maximum freedom is achieved. Hickok gave no thought to hunting exemptions.
There's also a difference between compromise and capitulation. You know, if you're getting punched in the nose by the bully, and he says, "Give me your milk money, and I'll stop punching you in the nose," that's not compromise. But if you're punching the bully back, and you guys are just sitting there slugging on each other, and you decide to stop, well, that's compromise. Compromise requires both sides to be giving up something and both sides to be gaining something.
Well, Hickok was punching the bully back in the nose, but a bunch of people who are jealous of Hickok or are ignorant or who just parrot somebody else on YouTube that they hear and don't think for themselves are jumping on this whole Hickok blah 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 bandwagon. And believe me, I'm not the biggest fan. I like the shows where he talks. I don't like the shows where he shoots. But you know, there's a lot of stuff out there, and this is the whole eating our own, and that's what we're doing, right? And then, like what Dead Horse says, Bloomberg just writes a check. I'd pull out a credit card myself, but he writes a check and uses this timing against us, and then we end up losing. We just end up losing. Sometimes you can use that compromise as a long-term road to get stuff back. I'm not saying it is our only choice. I'm not saying it is always the best choice. But all you people who say absolutely no compromise are going to lose everything in the end.
Wasn't
And
the
as you get, when you
sunset?
get older, well, when you get older, you become a bit of a pragmatist. So,
Wasn't the sunset on the Brady bill a compromise? And if we wouldn't have made that compromise, it was going to go through anyway. And then
On
there wouldn't have
AWB.
been a sunset.
on
wasn't
AWB, yeah.
So I'm pretty
Oh.
sure the sunset was a compromise, right? So yeah, we lost our rights for 10 years, but we got it back, and then it has stayed, right? It has stayed free since then, and we've been, at least in most states, and we've been able to have our high cap mags and our assault rifles back because we were able to show data for that 10-year period that it was ineffective, right? So that compromise
Exactly.
actually helped us.
Exactly. See, Dead Horse, I'm glad you brought that up. Exactly. Everybody who owns a modern day AR-15 wouldn't be able to own it if we didn't compromise. Thank you, Dead.
Yeah. Well, blind shooter goes to me, Rick. If the red law passes with the amendments that say we're trying to make to it, I'm not saying they're going to, but if they try, and God forbid that I become a victim of red flag laws, would you still be in support of it? I'm not in support of red flag laws at all. I don't believe in them. But if it's inevitable they're going to happen, we need to try to make amendments to it for if it does happen, that the poor, if it's even me, that I'm not getting shafted for some reason I shouldn't be. That's all I'm saying. And just for information, Indiana has had red flag law since 2004. I think it was the first state to do it. They call it some braid bill or something. It was named after a cop who got shot by somebody who was mentally unstable. So Indiana's had it for years. So
Sometimes you can apply military tactics and strategy to debate or business plans or some stuff like that. Here's the thing: when you're going after an objective, you want to get good intelligence on the objective. You want to get good reconnaissance on the objective, and then you want to determine, is the objective worth fighting for? Is it worth going to capture or to contain, or how, or what are we going to capture? Are we going to contain it? Are we going to bypass it? What are we going to do? Is it really worth it? And then after that, then you have to assess how many resources you estimate you're going to have to throw at it, and then if at all possible, have some sort of reserve component, and then go after the objective. It's also good to have an exit strategy or a withdrawal plan or multiple withdrawal just in case or blah, blah, blah. And I know with the second Gulf War, they really didn't have an exit strategy. But, and you see what happened there, right? But if you look at some things, okay, look at the island hopping campaign of World War II. There were islands that they bypassed, and then there were islands where they lost tens of thousands of people taking because of the value of that objective. And some people could argue that this island wasn't worth it and this was and blah, blah, blah. But in the end, they won the conflict, okay? So when you're looking at these laws that they're proposing, you got to look at it and go, do we bypass this? Do we contain it? Or do we capture it? And if we capture it, is it really worth it in the long run? What are we gaining off of this? You don't have enough resources to go after every law at once. That's another thing that gets to me, is these people that want to go after every single law that they're proposing all at the same time with the exact same amount of effort. Dude, we do not have the manpower, money, and time to go after every single, so we have to glean through it, and we have to pick out which ones are the most dangerous to everybody. And then we also have to look at in what order do we want to go after these based on timing or how long they've already been around, and then you also want to look at your past successes and learn off of that and use that when you're going in to try to counter these things. So if you apply some military strategy to some of this stuff, you can actually have, in my opinion, a better success, a better chance at success. But when you just go all willy-nilly and shall not be infringed and everything, and blah, and you're not looking at, is there any value in this? Is there any, what? I just think people are just going off of raw emotion, just like the other side, and they're not thinking it through. They're not using any strategy. They're not learning from their mistakes. And we're getting a bunch of people, if this was combat, you'd be getting a bunch of your people killed over nothing. It would be like Pickett's charge or something. You're getting a bunch of people killed over nothing, and in the end, you gain nothing. You expended a bunch of resources. You're going to be writing a lot of letters to angry mothers, and we didn't gain a damn thing. So think of it like that.
Yeah. Oh, real quick, before we carry on, I want to carry this conversation on because I got some other stuff to mention about it. But first off, I wanted the quiz from last week. That's what I want to do. I had 3 entries. That's all I could find. I checked my trash mail and my spam and all that kind of stuff to make sure I didn't miss anybody. But my question was, in the TV show NCIS New Orleans, I wanted to know what was the main sidearm that nearly all the NCIS agents working out of that New Orleans office used. And the answer was the P-228, the 6-hour P-228. I believe the real NCIS agents use the P-229, but I could be wrong on that. I think somebody told me. But anyway, where am I at? Let me find out who's going to win here. Here it is, my random picker. I got my 3 names in there. And here we go. Southpaw RX is the winner. So, there we go. So, Southpaw, if you're in the thing, you won it. So you won my little, swag pack here. And real quick, I got a doozy for this coming. Well, actually, I won't be here next Saturday. So you got 2 weeks to come up with the answer for this one. Because next Saturday I'll be at the NRA show. Since I don't have 1,000 subs, I can't live stream from there. So, but anyway, for next week, so this is 2 weeks from now. I've got the "Do Not Tread on Me" sticker. I am for the face patch, American flag patch, business cards, my sticker, and my trading card, Clover Tech sticker, a Glock sticker, another Glover Tech sticker, another, a pen, and a lanyard thing here, whatever they call them. That's the prize for next week. Or should I say 2 Saturdays from now? And I might add some more stuff in there as well. A lot of this came from, I got a great swag pack package from Clover Tech with a bunch of these goodies in there. So I appreciate that. So that's for that. That's for next week, or it'll be 2 weeks. And the question is, in the John Wayne movie Brannigan from 1975, what was the revolver that he used in that movie? And it was mentioned by the British police commander near the beginning of the film, too. So, in the John Wayne movie Brannigan, it was made in 1975, by the way, what revolver did John Wayne use in that movie? It was mentioned by the British commander when he arrived over in London. So that is the question. Email me at rickslifeasiseeit@gmail.com or spottedrick@gmail.com. And I said it'll be 2 weeks for the answer for that one. So there we go. So you got 2 weeks to come up with that defining answer to that one. So, okay, back to what we were talking about. Okay. Oh, I forgot what I was going to mention now. I know I shouldn't have stopped. So, what were we talking about, guys? I got myself all worked up there over my thing. What were we talking about? Compromise?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought we were. Yeah, you know, I don't, how can I put it? I don't know, maybe I am a compromiser, but I rather try to get something than nothing. Yeah, but I agree. Anytime that something comes up and we try, they don't give an inch. I mean, it's very rare when we give something up, we ever get it back. I don't think we've ever got it back. But I don't know. Are we just I'd rather extend our 2A rights than lose them altogether. I guess that's what I'm saying. Because if they got what they wanted, we wouldn't have any guns at all right now. You know? So that's what I was thinking. Anybody else got anything to say on it?
We're not strong enough right now to march in there every single time with a chip on our shoulder and go, no compromise, drop the mic and walk out. There are people in our community that act like we are, but we aren't. We could be there one day, but it's a long road, it's a lot of work, and unfortunately, the compromise is a part of that long road. If you want to get guns more mainstream, if you want to get the public more educated, more on board, not necessarily converted, but more on board, more understanding, this is more of a normal thing. If you want to get more information out there about people actually using guns to defend themselves, or catching the government saying that, yes, we want to take the guns because free speech is next, or any of that other stuff that is going to make a difference in the long run, then we've got to get stronger. When we do get stronger, there's going to be some politician going, I think we need to ban all semi-automatics. And our people are going to walk in there and go, no, I don't think so. And they're going to cower in the corner and they're going to go, okay, because they've lost again and again and again. Right now, our people are cowering in the corner. People go, they're compromising. Oh, no, don't get me wrong. These politicians will say whatever they want to say to get elected and stay elected, whatever they think is the most popular. So let's make fighting for our second rights more popular than fighting against them. And instead of our people cowering in the corner, no matter what side of the table they're on or aisle they're on, what little letters next to their name, let's make our people, our people who vote and our people who represent us and our people who are supposed to serve us get on our side because it is more popular, it is more mainstream, it is more common. Let's get the whole image of gun ownership and the right to defend yourself and the right to use firearms as a deterrent against a tyrannical government and everything else that goes with it. Everything that, for every reason, everybody's into this. Why everybody's on here watching and subscribing and making their own videos and doing their own shows and all that. Let's get all of that mainstream, and then we will be strong enough that we can fight off any law they want to throw at us. But right now, we're the ones cowering in a corner. We're the ones that are losing left and right. And I just think there's a better way to do it. And the people that don't want to compromise, I understand what you're saying. If you think I like compromising, after all the things I've done for my country, if you think I like compromising, you're out of your mind. But I also know what is more likely to work and what is going to get us on the path to where we don't have to compromise anymore. And that's just my opinion on it.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, somebody else mentioned a good thing here. You know, you got the people who shouting out, you know, there's going to be a civil war. I mean, I know it's semantics, but you're using the wrong thing there. A civil war means states have got to secede from the Union. What you're talking about is like another revolution to overthrow the government. It's not a civil war. It's a revolution. That, unless I'm misunderstanding my history here, you know. But that ain't going to happen.
Well, who's going to start the civil war? Who's going to start? I mean, who's going to be the first to pick up their gun and attack the government? That's what I want to know. Sorry, Dead Horse, for interrupting.
No, you're fine. Yeah, well, what I'm wondering, though, too, like, to coincide with that on the opposite side of that, Alaskan, is how many people were probably sitting around before the Revolutionary War, before the Civil War, probably before World War I, World War II, before, like, any major conflict. How many people were probably sitting around saying, oh, no, it's not going to happen. We don't got nothing to worry about. That's never going to happen. We live in a civilized society. We're, like, da-da-da. Like, it's going to get worked out. It's just like, I wonder how many like people were just like, you know, of that mindset until it actually happened, and they were like, oh shit, right? So I don't know. Being prepared, I think, is always a, you know, no matter what, being prepared for everything, right? That's the job of a good citizen, right?
Yeah, you talk about. I mean, you got a good point there. You know, talking about sitting there saying it's never going to happen because we're civilized. I mean, would you call them civilized? Some of those countries out in Africa and stuff,
or in Europe, even. I think some of these countries have fallen in Europe that were industrial
wars
countries.
have been going on, or revolutions have been going on.
Look at Yugoslavia and stuff. I mean, like, there's been industrial, civilized countries that have been completely torn. And I don't want anyone to think that just because somehow we're America or have nukes or whatever, that it can't happen internally here, and it's going to be hell. That is not a win. It's like, some people are like, want that? I don't give a fuck what. Like, whether we have all the guns or not, there is no winner in that, man. There was no winner in the Civil War. Like, that's just a bad thing, right? Like, we want to try and avoid that, but we also want to be prepared.
Yeah, but I mean, but right now, you know, if a little pocket down in Florida and Georgia and Alabama raise up, they'll just be squashed and be called domestic terrorists. You know, it would have to be one humongous uprising. And
or it would be a mess, right? It would be neighbor against neighbor, literally. You know, you would have splotches here and there of within towns, not even just within counties or states. It would be a total mess. And that's just it. I mean, I don't care if you don't get along with your neighbor, if you don't talk to your neighbor, because nowadays people don't do that and whatnot. But could you literally get your AK and go next door and just start blasting away at just, you know, or shooting at random strangers, or you know, going down to the city hall, but no, we're all law-abiding, rational people here. We're all, whether you have, you know, religion in your life or not, we're all, you know, I've heard people on our shows call for this stuff, and they do sound a little bit radical, and I've tried to off-air say, hey, dude, not cool. But I mean, other than that, though, we're all pretty much law-abiding. We're not the ones that are, and it's not a cowardly thing either. Oh, you're not willing to fight and die, so you must. No, it's not that. It's about, I mean, really think this through. Think through what you would have to do in order to do this. I'd rather us win this in the long run for our children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren, for the country as a whole, over time through litigation. And I know that's a pain in the butt, but a lot of people dying needlessly is a pain in the butt too. As somebody who's served in the military and been to 2 different combat zones, okay, a bunch of people dying is not good no matter what. You know, even if you're slaughtering the enemy over there so they don't come over here, it's still, you know, people have to live with that. You would have to live with the fact that you did some stuff that you probably don't have it within you to do right now. Some people who have a gun for self-defense can't even use it in self-defense. They don't even have that mindset. They think they do, but they don't. Now you're taking it on the offense, and you're doing some pretty evil things. So whenever I hear this talk about the next revolution or next civil war, it just kind of makes me sick.
Patriot, how you doing, buddy?
Well, good afternoon, gentlemen.
So, Blind Shooter asked you to hurry up in here for you could put out the fire.
No,
Yeah.
I just come in to stoke it. I have a dinner date for in just a little bit, so I'm just kind of running through, just coming in to say tag, you're it. But yeah, so you guys are talking about the upcoming rise of the people, huh?
Well, no, we were talking. It all started about the conversation. All started about the NRA article in the newspaper in the magazine, the New Yorker. You know, that's how this originally started. And then we got on to compromise, and that's what we were talking about. You know, where I was saying on the red flag laws, right? From what I've heard, from what I've read, what I've heard, is it's almost a certainty. I mean, he might not, but it's almost a certainty that the president is going to sign it. Out of all the all the gun bills that are happening, that is the one that is more likely to get the president's signature. So, what my argument was, and this is where I might lose half of my 200 subs here, right? Is if you got if it's written the way it is, and we don't, you know, with it being totally leaning, you know, the anti-gunner way, and we don't try to put in some amendments to, I don't know, ease the pain, even though it's going to pass, is that compromise, or we just stand there and say, no compromise, shall not be infringed, and let it go through? As I said, I'd rather them use Vaseline when they shove it up my ass than have it shoved up my ass without Vaseline. That's originally what the conversation started.
Wow.
I'll tell you what, I'm going to compromise in 2020 when I vote for Donald Trump. Donald Trump's supposed to be a huge pro-gun president. He's been anything but, in my opinion.
Oh yeah. I mean, and some
okay, but depending on who the opposition is, though, and how anti-gun the opposition is, that might have to be where we compromise, right? We might have to go, hey, we have to vote for Trump again because, you know, we see the track record and what they say during their campaign speech versus the Democrat side. So just because Trump's, like, you know, has bump stocked us and stuff like that doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to vote Democrat. So, you know, and it doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to throw my vote away on a third party, right? So I'm definitely going to have to pick the lesser of two evils, which unfortunately is probably going to be Donald Trump. Is, you know, because like I said, I have to be realistic about this. And, you know, who's going to do more damage, Donald Trump or a Dem? So yeah, I don't know.
Dead horse, I think you coined a phrase. So now it's bump stocking. It's a verb. I've been saying that for a while. Yeah. Oh, have you? I'm sorry, I haven't heard it before. Yeah. So whenever a politician who claims to be pro-gun signs an anti-gun or supports anti-gun legislation, they're bump stocking us. We're getting bump stocked by them.
Yep.
Nice.
Okay.
Nice.
Here's a question.
My biggest thing, just to throw it in real quick, is I don't think anyone should be out there waiting until 2020. You know, I know that, you know, everybody does the rallies, and there's guys that are really proponents of that, and they do stuff like that. But everybody's got to be aware of this stuff, because just us saying that we're going to vote for this person because they're less or whatever, yeah, that doesn't sound proactive to me. I don't know. I mean, you know, going out and getting as many people, you know, focusing on that liberty thing versus just firearms, because it's not just about firearms. As you lose one liberty, it goes to all of them. So I still say go to the shops, you know, start passing literature out. You know, there's a lot of people that don't click links and play on the internet and do all that. You know, computers are fads to some people, right? They're not going to do it. So if you print out stuff, get that information out there and get it in easy form for those guys that can't read so well, or that can't understand, you know, 45 pages of something. You know, everybody is different. Everybody thinks about things different. They go about things different. They attack things different. And we have to get people moving in the same direction. Just basically, we need to get people to lift their heads out of their phones and their rears and actually look around. And that's the biggest thing. Because if you're just going to wait until 2020, until a ballot comes out, and wait for people who don't give a shit about firearms or your liberties, make those ballots so that those ballots are there and you have to vote yes or no on something. If you're waiting until then, that's on you. All right. Now I know a lot of us do go places. I don't go as many places as I should, but they really frown on me driving. So I'm kind of tapped into, you know, other things, but get that information out there. There's always people that don't know what's going on. Even if you think they do, track them down, because they don't.
You're
I mean,
right.
look, we got Squib here. You know, he doesn't know that people pay cash sometimes. Anyways, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to take.
Well,
Hey,
wait,
Rick.
what is that? Is it like Johnny Cash or?
Hey, Rick, I got to jump off here. I'm about to jump on the bus, but thank you for the link. And guys, I'll talk to y'all later.
All right, thanks for joining.
There's one channel I want to bring up real quick. It's a really good channel. His name is Alaska Ballistics. If y'all haven't checked him out, please go look at his channel. He's very smart, and it's a really good gun channel. All right, guys. Thanks a lot.
Yeah.
See ya.
Yeah, you're right. It is about liberties. I mean, I've been, you know, it is. It's all about our liberty. That's what I mean. You're right. I've mentioned this in the chats before. Is even here in Indiana, we're a very gun-friendly state. All my cousins, most of them are just hunters, right? One of them carries, but the rest of them, they just hunt. And I was talking to one of them the other day about, because we're talking about, I said, well, I don't even own a rifle to go hunting. He goes, I'll lend you one. And I said, well, if universal background checks come through, you won't be able to, you know, unless they make an amendment to it to allow us to. And he goes, what do you mean? He didn't even know that was happening. Going back to what Patriot said, some people don't even know what's going on.
Does he have email? Do you know if any of your family has email?
Yeah, but I don't have them all.
Okay, well that's your next thing, you know.
Yeah.
Because I the reason I say it is I used to sit on early watch day after day after day after day, and since that's not there any longer, you know, you take that time and you search out, you know, you actually make contact. I have a big thing about Facebook, you know, and people thinking they're talking to you because they send you a message. You know, I refuse to reply or talk with anybody if they try to just contact me on, you know, social media, besides obviously what we're doing here. But, you know, because it takes out that personable person-to-person thing that you actually need. Because I send you a notice for an event or something online, that doesn't mean you see it. You know, so actually reach out and talk to people. That's actually what I'm doing now. I'm going with a bunch of people that I don't think they've shot a firearm ever, and I'm going with a group of them today. So we'll see how that goes. But just get out there. So, anyways, I hope you guys have a wonderful day. I didn't mean to jump in here and cause too much havoc, but
and you're jumping out again now, huh?
Yeah, I gotta print my hair. You know, you gotta look good.
Okay.
It takes a long time for me.
Well, thanks for stopping by, Patriot. Appreciate it.
Okay, and
See,
thank you
don't
for that email yesterday. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that. So, all right, you guys have a wonderful day.
Okay.
See you,
All
man.
right.
Later.
Later.
All right. Do we want to carry on, or do we want to start winding down? Anybody got anything else you want to talk about?
We don't have to sit back. We have a system that's survived 243 years. World wars, civil wars, uprisings, depressions, uh, collapses and rises and falls and all these other kinds of different things. We don't have to sit back and say, we've got to vote for the lesser of two evils. If we use the system that's set up the way it's supposed to be set up, we can get the two evils out of there, and we can get actual people who are interested in freedoms and the values that our country holds and our country was developed on. Just allowing, okay, well, that's how it is. That's how it is. That, it doesn't have to be that way. It was set up that we could change these things. If you've got a politician, and everybody's mentioned it, it's going to take a long time, a lot of dedication, and a lot of hard work. When Rick says that I'm going to pave the sidewalk, vote for me, and we vote for him, and the sidewalk doesn't get paved, we have to have the Constitution in our hearts and the mindset that the next election cycle, you're out. And make it clear to everybody who will ever run again that if you make a promise and you break it, you're gone. One time in, one time out. And that's going to take a long time and a lot of dedication. And if we have the will and the strength and the desire to do it, we can stop voting for the lesser of two evils. The Constitution, the Bill of Rights, the Declaration of Independence, and the American dream isn't based on the lesser of two evils.
You're right. You're absolutely right. As I'm thinking, I mean, if Trump signs in anymore, or he didn't really sign in the ban-stop ban, he told them to rewrite it, and they did. So that's one strike against him. But if he signs any anti-gun bills, he should be just a one-term president. Bottom line. But we need somebody else.
That has came back and bit us in the ass so many times.
Yes.
So there's the read my lips analogy, right? So that happened to
Oh,
George
yeah.
Bush, and look
Oh,
what
yeah.
happened. Look what happened. Everyone got so pissed at George Bush just because of taxes and shit, right? So we all voted fucking Dem. We got Bill Clinton in there, and what happened? Brady Bill, all sorts of shit. So no, dude, like no, man, like just because he bump stocked us, like we still have to be reasonable and go with the lesser of two fucking evils. In a perfect world, we could all vote third fucking party, but unfortunately, us as a gun fucking world, even if we all vote third party, we're not going to be able to elect a third party president. We have to vote Republican or Democrat.
You're right.
The strength about Donald Trump is he doesn't give a crap about what anybody says or what anybody cares about. He's going to stick his finger in your face and tell it how it is. The weakness to Donald Trump is he cares what people think about him. And if Donald Trump is screwing up, you hop on that little Twitter machine and bombard him with stop being a jerk tweets and write letters and get on here on the new media and start talking about how we don't what the Donald Trump's popularity is what he cares about. And as long as the people are at 70,000 deep at the rallies, 20,000 deep at these rallies, and he can get them all raucous and cheering because of all the other cool stuff that he's doing. That's another thing, like Dead Horse was talking about. You're going to throw away the economy over the bump stock? I'm not. You're going to throw away unemployment over the bump stock? I'm not. You're going to throw away the rest of your guns over some stupid things that he did? Yeah, he screwed up a bunch of times. But the thing that he can be controlled by is us. The media is not going to control him. Washington, D.C. is not going to control him. But the people sitting here in the panel talking about him will control that man. And I'm not saying it's perfect, but I do agree that you throw away your vote and say Donald Trump is a bad guy, orange man bad, and I don't like him because he took the bump stock away, then you might as well pack up the rest of your guns and send them over to Benchmade.
But what we want to do is we want groom the system to get it to a point where we have a third and possibly fourth party to vote for.
No.
And now, but that's not going to
No.
happen tomorrow. That's not going to happen
No,
tomorrow.
we never fucking want that. So listen to me. Anyone go research fucking history and research any country, right? Which is going to be all the European countries, South American countries. Go read any fucking country that has changed from a 2-party system to a 3-party system to a 4-party system to a 5-party system, and tell me if you want to be like any of those shithole countries over there in Europe right now. That's how you fucking lose. That's how you get an Adolf Hitler. That's how. No, the beauty of fucking America is the 2-party system. That's why we're the greatest country on earth. That's why we remain to be the greatest country on earth, is the 2-party system. I will argue that fact all day because I have history to back me up. Not one successful country over there in that shithole Europe has gone to a 3rd, 4th, and 5th fucking party system. Germany, none of them. They're all shitholes. They've all gotten the worst fucking people, the worst presidents, way fucking worse than what we've ever gotten.
I mean, a good example is the United Kingdom, right? That's 3-party. You got the Conservatives, you got the Labour Party, and you got the Liberals. The Conservatives are in control now only because the way the voting works, the way it was voted, is they could only hold it because they got the Liberals on their side. If the Liberals hadn't said, "Okay, we're back you," right? They wouldn't have won. So basically, what happens is the Conservative Party, the Prime Minister, had to give a few, like a Secretary of Defense or whatever, to a couple of Liberal politicians on her little thing there to make it all work. Otherwise, it wouldn't have happened. So I agree with what you're saying. So basically what it done was it weakened the country. And look at it now over the Brexit thing. It's totally screwed up, all because of a 3rd-party system. So I agree with you, Dead Horse.
I'm just saying, go research your history on any of those countries and look at the leaders they've been put in power once they've gone to 3rd and 4th party systems, and look what has happened to all those countries. Don't think America is going to be any different if we go that route, for real. That is a very dangerous, slippery slope, and the beauty of the 2-party system is we pretty much eliminate the possibility of ever us getting a fucking Adolf Hitler into power, or a Mussolini, or fucking like any just fucking nutcase. So the beauty of our 2-party system is we keep people like Hillary Clinton out of office, where if she would have fucking been over in Britain, she would have been the fucking prime minister.
Oh yeah, she would have been.
Real quick, Black Cat was asking what other stuff has he done. Well, yeah, Maryland, a lot of Marylanders got raised taxes too, and that's not because of Donald Trump. That's because Maryland rewrote their tax laws after he passed the tax law. So I don't know what happened in Pennsylvania, but Donald Trump's not the reason that you had to pay higher taxes. And if it is, you didn't do your expenses properly. And your health care, Donald Trump had a health care bill in the law to get rid of Obamacare, and it got voted down by the Republicans. So it's not Donald Trump's fault that your health care is shitty and expensive.
And don't necessarily blame all it on Donald Trump. It's not like he had fucking millions of American citizens pressuring him and wanting him to ban bump stocks, right? So it's not like there wasn't opposition there to us, right? Like calling for it. So and plus think of how much attack he was under and has been under by media, by just investigations. It's all like he has not been given a fair shake, really, in my opinion. From the start, he's just been under such constant attack compared to any other president, and the media campaign out against him has just been phenomenal. And so and then such a mass tragedy happens, and that feeling that he needs to act. I'm sure he's the president. He has to do something. That he probably has that feeling. I have to do something. What do? I have all these people saying like, ban this fucking thing. Maybe I don't want to. I'm pro-gun, but what the fuck, right? So I can't even imagine filling those shoes and going through that, and what I would choose. Honestly, I might want to sit here all day and pretend like, oh yeah, I shall not be infringed. You're not taking my bump stock. But if I was in his shoes, I don't want to pretend like I would really know what I was going to do. And so you know, like I said, the beauty of our system is the two-party system. It works. We're the greatest country on earth. Be careful wanting to fuck that up. Sometimes you got to pick the lesser of two evils, and you don't get everything you want. But guess what? Every 4 years, we have a new chance.
And see, that's just it too. It's just like the NRA. If you're a member of the NRA, you support the NRA in whatever way, and they don't do everything you want, but they do some things you want, or they've been doing some things you want. That's about as good as you're going to get. Now, we want to change that. We do. We want it just like these politicians, like what Kingpin was saying about using our system to change. But that all takes time. And as long as we're all going off in different directions or fighting each other, we're not going to be able to effect change. And I'm just as guilty as everybody else. I've got my beliefs. I've been doing what I know works, what I feel works. Some of the things you guys have told me to change to, I don't want to do. And I'm not going to ask somebody else to change what they're doing either. I'd rather you be in the fight one way than not at all. But I will say this. If a bunch of you decide to either not show up to the elections or you decide to vote for a candidate who has no chance at all of winning, and then we do get somebody who has a track record of wanting to take away our freedoms, I'm going to blame you for not showing up or for throwing your vote away. Okay? But that doesn't mean that I'm saying that you have to vote one way. Do what you want. Do what you want. Just like if you want to blame me for some stuff because of what I've always said, and then look what ended up happening, and hey, then I guess I got egg on my face or whatever it is. This is the problem I have. I'd like to see us all work together better, but I'm not one to willing to do some of the things that you guys want to do. I don't just mean politically. I just mean in the whole two-way thing. So I'm just going to be a big hypocrite if I get out there and start being a cheerleader. That's why I'm not a cheerleader. We can do it, you know. But somehow or another, something has got to work out. It just somewhere at some point in time, something's got to work out for us.
I want to say two things real quick. One is Black Cat brought up another good point. He said only 42% of the people voted here and all. I guess it's talking about Pennsylvania. Most of our presidents are elected by 30%. That goes back to what I was saying before about the system not being used. If the people actually use the system the way it's set up to be used, things like this would be different. And when only, 60 some odd percent of the people sit at home and don't care. And I'm sure he's talking about the voting population, not kids who can't vote or felons or whatever like that. But if you're not going to take part in the system, then of course you're not going to like what happens, because other people who are taking part in the system are going to decide what kind of system we have. And with that being said, that's the reason that I support Trump. I don't give a crap about Donald Trump, the man. Was never a fan of him in the first place. I didn't care about him either way. I care about him as the president because this is a pivotal time in our nation. No longer are the gloves on. No longer are the lies out. They're coming out and saying, we don't care about free speech. They're coming out and saying, we don't care about your Second Amendment. They're coming out and saying, we don't care about your personal property rights. All of these other things that we hold dear, they're coming out and saying, the electoral college, all of these things they want to take away and fundamentally transform this nation. And Donald Trump is the one standing in the middle of the way. And I don't see Donald Trump standing there. I see Rick standing there, Dead Horse standing there, Black Cat standing there, Sean Ponnery, unknown user. I see my fellow Americans, patriotic Americans who I have respect for and I love, even though we might not agree on everything. They're the ones in the presidency right now. So either we elect ourselves president once again, or we give it up to Cory Booker, who will stomp all over our nation. No questions asked. He will. Elizabeth Warren, you think Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders, Joe Biden, any of them are going to make America great again? Keep America great? No, they're going to destroy it.
So and to add on to that, I think it's the career politicians that are the evil that want to destroy America from what I've seen. And I hate career politicians, and Donald Trump has brought this up and is trying to get it passed, right? That the biggest thing we can do is support Donald Trump in signing into law this bill that he proposed about limiting terms on senators, congressmen, I mean, limiting terms of public officials in general. And that'll help stop corruption. I think it'll help limit it. It won't stop it. Like, it's never going to stop it, but it's going to help limit it by getting these lifelong politicians like Dianne Feinstein, who literally has been a lifelong fucking politician
Chuck
since like
Schumer.
the 70s, right? And like, you know, and she's gonna still be in office until like 2025. You know, like, oh, dude, come on. We need this. We need to set reasonable terms. There's no reason senators should be in office for 30 years and stuff like that.
I don't think it was set up to be that way either.
No, oh, definitely. If you read what our founding fathers have said on it, they warned us about career politicians and term limits. All of them warned us about it. And so I think we really need to help Donald Trump and support these bills and write our local congressmen. And even though they might not want to hear it, but like our representatives, and we need to set reasonable fucking term limits. That is the number one thing I think we can do to help fix this country, to get corruption, because most of these people with an anti-gun agenda have an interest in the anti-gun agenda because they're heavily invested in the private security industry and stuff, and in prison and owning prisons and just all private prisons, and they have an agenda. If you look into it, all these anti-gun politicians and stuff, they have an agenda. That's the only reason why they're anti-gun, right? It really is money. It comes down to money. The more we push anti-gun, the more guns we get out, the more crime, the more criminals. It is an agenda, okay? And so if we limit those terms, we can get those laws fixed. We can limit that corruption, limit those agendas, and there's no reason people should be in office as long as they are. Like there's no reason.
Yeah.
I've got a question for Kingpin.
Yeah.
So when he was talking, it got me thinking, okay, so you're talking about using the existing system to make changes. It's going to be long-term. It's going to take a while to do this, but at some point we can make changes to get our freedoms back and to secure them. Do you think the nation voting for Trump winning, using our system, using our electoral college, was, I mean, first off, it was a shocker for everybody except Donald Trump because, he thinks he's the greatest thing on the earth. But I was totally surprised. Even though I voted for him, I thought for sure Hillary was going to win by a landslide, and she didn't. And there's been all these problems and issues since they were voting to impeach him before he even took office, and this whole Russian collusion and everything else. And all these people are butthurt, and people wearing MAGA hats getting assaulted, and the list just goes on and on and on. But is that maybe one of the first steps towards what you were talking about using the system to turn things around? Do you think his election is evidence that the system could work in our favor, or do you think it's just some sort of fluke and it doesn't have anything to do with that?
No, I absolutely think it's an exact example of how our system is supposed to work. The Dead Horse brought it up earlier. The president's always been considered the leader of the free world, the most powerful person on earth. And if they can do what they've done to him in the media and smash him with lies every single day, all week, all year for the past 2 some odd years that he's been president, and even before that, what do you think they're going to do to you, Squib? What do you think they're going to do to somebody who doesn't have that? If all these heavy hitting news agencies and newspapers can just print lies constantly about this guy and smash his family and talk about his son, carry a picture of his head decapitated around and make a video about it, or shoot him, do a play where they're stabbing the president on Broadway. What do you think is going to happen to the peons, everybody below, when people like that get the people they want in power? And that was a show that the corruption is deep and it's widespread, but it does not have to be accepted. The way it is, just like we talked about with them corporations and NRA before, if you know that that you're working for the pretzel factory company and the HR manager as corrupt as can be, that doesn't have to stand. You don't have to walk by that person every single day and say, man, that person sure is corrupt. I sure wish we could get rid of them. There's ways to do that. There's ways to get rid of that corruption and that evil. We don't have to settle for that stuff. This is the United States of America, the freest, greatest country that's ever been and probably ever will be, because we don't have to put up with that corruption. There's ways around it. There's ways, just like I talked about before. You've got a cookie shop that puts a sign, no black people allowed, right in the middle of Main Street, and it opens up and they got great tasting cookies. They'll be out of business in a week because everybody's going to stand in front of there and say, you're a disgusting human being. And if you're not going to sell to somebody because they have black skin, we're not gonna buy in your store, and we're gonna stand here on this public property and make sure everybody else knows that comes through this neighborhood that you're a bad person and we don't want you around here.
I agree with you.
And then
So,
one other thing I wanted to ask, maybe if Black Cat's still out in the chat, or if you guys know, if the Senate signs the red flag bill and the House signs it, I know there has to be a certain amount, there's a certain percentage. Rich White's out there too. He knows a lot about the government regulations. Say Trump doesn't sign the red flag bill. How many votes do they need to override him not signing it and still get it passed?
he vetoes it, you mean? I
Yeah.
think they need 2/3 of the
They
House.
need 2/3, and he can veto it twice.
Okay.
So it's what it is it's a waiting game. So he vetoes it, then they go ahead and they vote on it again. Well, they've got to wait for it to come back around. They can try to push it through. They can try to push it to the front of the line, but all this stuff takes time, and you know how much time off these guys take, right? So then they vote it through again. It goes through its desk. He vetoes it a second time. Then they have to vote it through a third time and take more time to do that. So it's almost a waiting game when it gets to that sort of politicking, but it is entirely possible to do.
So when I donated to President Trump's campaign, and so I'm on like a email list and call list and stuff, right? So I get like these text messages all the time from President Trump's thing asking me to take surveys about the fake news, the Obama administration spying on Trump, stuff like that. Even the bump stock ban. And there's always comment sections, like add additional comments and stuff. And if you go to the website, you can see where Donald Trump actually replies to some of them, right? Like, So I think that's pretty cool, right? Like we have a president like who's tweeting, and some people don't like that, but like we have a president who's literally replying to people's surveys and questionnaires that he puts out. We have and ordinary citizens, man, like not just some star, right? Like not just, he doesn't just reply. I don't know if you've ever followed his Instagram or Twitter or anything. It's not just like some star says something and that's who he replies to. Like, because I've clicked on the account of the people asking the question, and right, it's just like some nobody, like, right, like guy has like like 90 followers or something, right? Just really just like an ordinary guy, right? And but like I've seen Donald Trump reply to those people. And I think that is cool that we have a president, I think, that is more in touch with the average real guy, where these politicians, these lifelong politicians, have been protected by, not that Donald Trump hasn't been protected by security, but these guys have been like so out of touch, I think, with the real American and the average middle class or poor American than Donald Trump is. Not that Donald Trump's probably like as in touch as like, the people who are living that lifestyle, but I've seen things on him like even way before he was a president, just like his lifestyle, the way he interacts with his employees at Trump Tower, stuff like that. I mean, I think that guy's a genuine guy. I really do. And yeah, I'm sure he's a hard hitter and a shrewd businessman and stuff like that. And I'm sure he does whatever he can to save money on his taxes, just like anyone else does. And and I don't know, I like it. I like it a lot more, that I can say, than previous presidents, the communication between them and the common man, what I'm getting from President Trump, and the inside information and the straight to it and the real responses that you really want to know about, like, fuck, what does Trump think about this, or this guy said this about Trump, and you actually get a response. Oh, pencil neck dickhead over there, right? Like you get, oh, like, whoa, like that guy is a tough guy. He is a man. He ain't no sissy boy. He is a real guy, dude, and I like that. So say what you want about Trump. He's been, other than the bump stock ban, the guy's been great. He really has. And I like that communication. And I hope that our next president kind of learns from that and is like, oh, hey, maybe I should be more in touch with the common person and really look at what a common person's saying and not just listen to what, senators and corrupt, politicians are telling me, right?
Yep. You're right. Anyway, I'm going to wind this down, guys. For one, I'm getting hungry. Two, my cats are starting to circle around and scratching my legs. They're getting hungry. So I'm going to wind it down. So I'll go through the room here for shout outs and plugs. And I want to say thank you for everybody who was here today and put up with me. And, Black Cat Outdoors, Rich White, Sean Connery, Mr. Good Chat there, buddy. And everybody else in the chat, John Brown Productions, Rupert, who else do we have in the Southpaw, and all them. Thank you for being here. That Gun's Wife, Clover Tech, they're all in there, and I want to say thank you very much. But first off, okay, Squib, any shout-outs, plugs? Hit the mute
You would
button.
have to call on me when I've got it muted and I've got the screen off. And shout out some plugs. No, I guess not. I just want to say thanks for the invite, and I think we had a good conversation. I think we had a good, and there's a lot of politics, and from time to time those need to be talked about. And I understand, you guys hear me, and I sound agitated, and sometimes I am. Sometimes it's just caffeine. I'm not gonna lie. I ate 2 pounds of bacon before this show, so I'm wondering if that gets me all amped up. But other than having something in my something in my stomach that maybe gets me agitated, or something in my bloodstream that gets me a little bit more amped up. Sometimes I do get passionate about this stuff because I really do care. This isn't. Some people care because they want to be right, and some people act like they care because they're trying to get views. I'm not doing any of that. I don't even care if one of you guys convinces me to change my mind. If you've got a good argument, debate, point of view, opinion, whatever you want to call it, and I take some time to think it over, I might change my opinion on something based on what you say. But then again, there's other things. I'm dug in and I'm not going anywhere. So if I do sound agitated on any of these shows, just understand that short of having had a Mountain Dew beforehand or some coffee or I'm just having a bad day, or just I'm out driving around in traffic or whatever it is, a lot of times it is my passion for what is going on. And like I said earlier, when I think about this stuff, I'm not just thinking about myself today. I'm thinking about my children, and I'm thinking about one day grandchildren and one day great-grandchildren. And anybody who's not a parent doesn't understand. But if you're a parent, you know how it is when somebody accuses your kid of something and you're ready to go to war, or if something goes wrong at school, you're ready to go to war or anything like that. So in some cases, that's I let that take over my emotions, because when I'm in this fight, I'm in this fight mostly for them. So I just want people to understand where I'm coming from when I'm like this. It's not that I want to fight with you guys, because I really do enjoy most of the times I'm able to come on these shows and really have a dialogue with you guys. And I do like the way that you guys present your opinions and try to get people to think. I think it's a great thing. And Rick, I really do appreciate you being the device that got that going today. Thank you very much.
No problem. No problem. And I want to say, as I said, thank you to everybody in the chat today who put their stuff in. We might disagree on some things, but at the end of the day, you're still my friend. So anyway, Kingpin.
It wouldn't let me back into the Hangouts. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Great discussion. Appreciate it. Make sure everybody checks out Rick's Life as I See It on Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern. It's a really cool show that he does there, the Shooting with Disabilities. And, through that show, I've learned a whole lot about just how diverse, the C word that I don't like to use, this community is. There's a whole lot of different views and different aspects, strengths and weaknesses and all kinds of stuff. And, it's cool that we can get here and talk and find out where we disagree. It's easy to know where we agree at. The Eastern time zone is the only one that matters. Everybody agrees with that, so we don't need to talk about that anymore. But being able to talk about the things that we don't disagree with, and I said it I'll call Black Hat out again. I got the the highest level of respect for that guy. I think he's a great dude. I think he's super smart. And I love him. He's my brother. I think he's great. Whatever he thinks of me that's his choice. But we see things differently politically sometimes, and I'm not going to allow our political differences to come between what I feel is a friendship.
That's
And
what I was just saying too.
that's what these discussions allow us to do.
Yeah.
Is they allow us to say, I like vanilla ice cream, you like strawberry ice cream. Well, that's fine. Now we know where we're at there, and we can move on to what kind of pie do we like. Oh, we both like cherry pie. Bam, there we go.
Yeah.
So really cool. Thank you, Rick, for doing what you do. And make sure you guys check out Shooting with Disabilities Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern.
Okay. Dead Horse.
I'll say the most important thing is that we make each other re-examine our positions and make each other think. And it's not about necessarily changing each other's minds or anything like that. It's just let's make each other really think about, let's make each other question ourselves, right? Let's keep each other on our toes. Let's make sure that we're making the best decisions out there. And gunshots.com.
All right. Thank you very much, guys. I want to say thank you all again for everybody being here. I really do appreciate it, and I thought it was a great discussion today. So hopefully see you all on Wednesday at 7 p.m. And don't forget, I won't be here next Saturday. I'll be at the NRA show. So you've got 2 weeks to answer my quiz question. What was the gun Brannigan used in that movie? John Wayne and Brannigan, what was the gun he used? So email me at Rickslifeasiseeit at gmail.com or spottedrick@gmail.com.
If you want to find the answer to that question and you don't want to use Wikipedia or IMFDB or anything, check out a channel called BatJack, BATJAC, and he's got a lot of stuff in there about old guns, about John Wayne movies. BatJack JW for John Wayne. Check out his channel. He's got a lot of good stuff. If you like old guns, if you like John Wayne movies, if you like old gun magazines and stuff, he's got a lot of good videos out there.
All right.
And the answer to that question is on at least one of those videos.
All right. That works. All right. And if you like my show, give me a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribe to me. I would appreciate it. And I will see you all on Wednesday. Have a good afternoon.